Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Coffee with Cory. I'm your host, Cory Smith, here with a special guest on this episode, Mr. Elliott Avent, the manager of NC State baseball, entering your 30th season, sir. First of all, before we get things started, how are you doing, and how does that sound to you to be entering your 30th season at NC State?
It sounds great. I'll tell you, I did an interview earlier with Noah, and he asked what it's been like, through the 30 years, and it's just a pleasure and still a thrill for me to every day to come here to Doak Field, and it gets even better once the players get out of class and they come over to the field and you interact with the players, and it hasn't changed from my first year to this year. It's the same thing. You're interacting with great young men and trying to help them chase their dream and trying to get to postseason and trying to put pieces together. So it's the thrill hasn't changed from the first day I got here till today.
All right. So sticking on the topic of you, I know it's the thing you love talking about the most, right? I'm joking with you. But I wanted to ask, a couple months ago, you got nominated for, or you actually won the Longleaf Pine Award from the state of North Carolina, along with several other people, one of which was Torrey Holt, another one obviously Jordan Stahl from the Carolina Hurricanes. What did that mean to you, and what does that award kind of symbolize for not only yourself but being a part of NC State and winning that?
Yeah, I was actually very, very blown away, very shocked by that. I just I thought that kind of went to other people, and I guess it shows the importance of this job and who you represent as much as anything else, but was honored to be there with all the recipients, couple great coaches at North Carolina, and was just honored to be there with everybody. Obviously, the Jordan Stahl, because of my love for the Carolina Hurricanes and getting to meet him and talk to him a little bit, and his family and his kids. That was a great thrill. And obviously, my relationship with Torrey Holt and watching Torrey and when he got here as a freshman and how he grew as a football player and then a football legend in his professional career. And obviously what soon should be a Hall of Fame career with the Rams. It's just that was a big thrill. And nobody's done more for this community than Lavelle Moe. My gosh, nobody's done more of this community and done it more the right way and been a more first class individual than him. And we've shared a couple letters with each other through the years, and so being there on the same day, getting honored with him was also very, very special to me. So I guess it was a nice thing, but the people I was with probably were just as special as the award itself.
Well, now on to the things you actually like to talk about, and that's your former players.
Yeah.
Earlier, actually a couple months back again, you guys did a Ring of Honor at NC State. I wanted to ask you about, how important it was to bring that to NC State baseball. Obviously, it's been something that, retired jerseys for basketball, and there's been a lot of different things on the football side, having a Ring of Honor there. But having guys like Trey Turner, Carlos Rodon, Dan Plesac, Mike Caldwell all come back and be honored in that way. How important was that for you?
It was very, very, very special for me and very important to me. And I think it was important to the four guys that got their number on that wall. I'm not sure they thought about it at the time when I first called them and told them we were going to do it. But at the moment, with their families here, I think it meant a lot to all of them, to be honest with you. I've had conversations with Carlos and Trey since then quite a bit as their seasons are getting ready to kick off. But the thing that kind of it symbolizes, it's a part of baseball for me. And of course, I grew up a Yankee fan because of my dad, and the Yankees were the only game you'd ever get to see on a Saturday because there was one game a week. And so everybody kind of grew up a Yankee fan because they were more visible. And obviously they had a lot of success back then and a lot of great players. My dad's favorite player was Joe DiMaggio. Mine was Mickey Mantle, which a lot of people my age grew up loving Mickey Mantle. And, but when you think about the Yankees and all the retired numbers they have back there behind the wall and how special that is. And I saw Carlos Rodon go back there with the manager of the Yankees, and I think Garrett Cole, and honor those numbers back there for a special ceremony. And it brought back to what that means to baseball players to have those numbers on the wall. And I think every body in every team in baseball, whether it's college or pro, has some kind of semblance of that. I remember when I was out west in Arizona State, had a lot of numbers on the wall because I'd go there and play, and my players would say, "Hey, I didn't know Barry Bonds played here, and I didn't know so-and-so played here," and that's kind of a special thing. So it's something I've always wanted to do here, and we were fortunate enough when I got here. Coach Esposito's number had been retired, as it should be. He is the architect and the of NC State baseball. He is the godfather of NC State sports, which I've always said. So he's retired, but Chris Combs' number was honored. And now we were fortunate enough to honor Dan Plesac, Mike Caldwell, Trey Turner, and Carlos Rodon. And that was a special moment for me, and I think a special moment for those four guys, their families, and a lot of their close friends.
And I know, speaking of Sam Esposito, that's obviously something that another project of yours. We'll leave that for another day, but I know you wanted to get a statue out in the front at some point. So hopefully that can also come to fruition at some point as well. Before I get to the roster as a whole, wanted to ask you too, I mean, just the project as of Doak Field, how everything's going there. I know obviously we're still waiting on the building just outside of the facility, but how are things looking, and do you feel like that's going to be ready for the start of the season? Where do things kind of stand there?
Yeah, it's coming together quite nicely. It's cool to see. You know what I'm saying? Every day I don't walk in there every day, because if you walk in there every day, you feel like you're not getting there, right? But if you wait a few days and you go in there, you see something different, and it's cool. And but everything's coming together really nicely. That's going to be an incredible building for this program, and one that's been a long time in the making. I know it was Ray Tanner's thing that he was trying to get done, and I've worked on it since I've been here. And to see this building, I tell the players every day, wait till you walk in there. You're going to love it. It's and like I said, maybe won't be ready for the first game of the season, but maybe when we get back from our first road series, maybe we'll be moving in there. But whenever we move in there, it's going to be incredible. I know the players are excited. We're excited, and it's going to help the future of this program.
All right. And as far as the team itself, wanted to ask you before we get into specific players and things like that. I mean, when you look at this team, one of the most incredible things to watch about your teams over the years is you always kind of adapt to what the strengths of your team are. Whatever you have, when you had Trey Turner, you had more speed. You've obviously had several rosters where you've had a lot of speed, and you've kind of adapted to that. You've had several rosters where you've had more power, better pitching. What do you feel like is going to be the strength of this team going into the season based off of what you've seen in the fall and early on in the spring?
That's a great observation, Corey. And it is what every coach tries to do, is take the players that you have and figure out what kind of offense you're going to run, what kind of defenses you can run, where your weaknesses are, and what are your strengths. And going into day 3 of spring practice, after having a very good fall where you got to see a lot of stuff, I feel like this is a team that is very versatile. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a team that has a little bit of depth. You never have enough, but has a little bit of depth because injuries are part of sports. And it's a team that I think we do a lot of things pretty well. I'm not saying we're incredible at anything, I think we do a lot of things pretty well. And we got an opportunity to run a little bit. We got more team speed than we probably had in the past. I think we're very athletic, probably more athletic than we've been in the last few years, which always helps. I think we got some experience, which is always a key, whether it's leadership and maturity in the locker room or just on the field. And I think we got some young guys that are showing a lot of promise and possibly ready to help us this year. And so there's a lot of little things that I think are coming into play that we're going to have a chance to be okay. But we got a long way to go, as everybody. Third day of practice, long way to go. And but I like where we're at right now.
And speaking of those young guys, over the years, you've had freshmen that have made an immediate impact. I think back to Ty Head, Anderson Nance last year, the impact that they had. Just your thoughts on the young players so far, the freshmen that have come in, and who's kind of shown up to this point that you feel like could have an immediate impact this year.
Yeah, you mentioned it with Anderson Nance last year and Ty Head. What incredible years they had as young players, and that's only going to help them. And we think about the maturity of the Ryan Marohns, Cooper Consiglio, Jacob Dudan, Heath Andrews, those guys that have been around and the experience they bring to the pitching staff, and the Luke Nixon, Andrew Lamphere, Chris McHugh, the guys that have played a lot, and the experience and the comfortability they give you there. But you mentioned the freshmen coming in, Luke Hemrick as a left-handed pitcher, Mikey Ragusa, Aiden Kitchings. There's a lot of freshmen that is showing a lot of promise that could possibly help us this year and are going to be great players here at NC State for the future. And Rhett Johnson is a freshman player that had a really, really good fall, got a lot of respect from the older players that were here. They appreciated his energy, much like the same when Ty Head came here. Reminds me a lot of Ty Head in certain ways, plays with that same energy, that same confidence, and that same love for the game. And so those are some kind of names. Mikey Ryan was a transfer who came in and had some end of the fall. Looks like a very solid player for NC State. That's going to help us quite a bit in the middle of the infield. And anyway, so those were the freshmen that kind of stood out the most. And there were other guys at times, but I'd say those guys stood out the most.
And when you say Rhett Johnson, is it Everett Johnson?
Yeah, we call him Rhett, but it's Everett Johnson. We call him Rhett.
Gotcha. I want to make sure I get that right. I mean, guy like a 5'9", 170 pound infielder, a guy that, or outfielder, I guess, will be an interesting one right here from my neck of the woods in Youngsville.
Exactly.
So he'll be an interesting one to watch. All right, as far as the guys that you feel like have made the biggest leap this year, I mean, obviously there's several players that you need to make a leap to fill some of these positions, but who do you feel like has made the biggest leap from last year to this year?
I think guys just get better. Leap's kind of like, it sounds like, hey, they got a lot better. You know what I'm saying? Leap is just getting a little better, because we're talking about, I think Luke Nixon is a better player today than he was last year, and he's played for 2 years in a row here. Yeah. He started since his freshman year. I mean, but he's a better player today. Mikey Ryan, as I mentioned, made a lot of progress from when he got here this fall in August to when he left in December. He got a lot better. Braden Fraseman, who started most every game last year, I think is a much better player today than he was when he started every game last year. So there are guys that have gotten better, and good players do that. So we have players that have gotten better, but as far as a leap, when you pitch as much as Heath Andrews, Ryan Marohn, Cooper Consiglio, those guys, Jacob Dudan, I don't think you talk about leaps, because they were really good in the past and those guys helped pitch us to the College World Series, 2 years ago. but they've gotten better. Obviously, Jacob Dudan's taking on a different role right now, so that's been a challenge for him, and he's had to develop some different mindsets and things that he does. But anyway, it's those are guys that have gotten better, but I wouldn't use the word leap.
I got you. And I had to ask you too, because I was listening to the ACC et cetera podcast yesterday when it came out. I believe you guys recorded that a little bit earlier. I want to give a shout out first of all to them. Great questions for you. Good reference point to go by. But you talked about Dalton Bargo, and you kind of compared him a little bit to what you got from Garrett Pennington a few years back. Obviously you have to go through the entire season, see where the stats end up, but also just what he ended up, what he kind of brings to the locker room. I mean, what have you seen from Dalton Bargo as a player, but also just as a leader coming into this clubhouse?
Yeah, that's, everybody sees what players give them on the field, and obviously that's important. But what they give you off the field is what a lot of people don't notice, and that's what makes you a team. And what Garrett Pennington did a couple years ago, I can't say enough about. Everybody knows what Garrett did on the field, what he did in that locker room as a first-year player, coming here from Wichita State, kind of left me, wow, that's pretty incredible. You don't know you're getting that. And you have to have that in a locker room where they live day-to-day, work ethic and handling losses and growing from wins and all those kind of things. You have to have that on any ball club, whether it be college or whether it be professional. And I see some of the similarities in Dalton Bargo, a guy that can draw on a lot of experiences that he's had in his past at Tennessee and before. And I've just seen a lot of the same similarities. Kind of a quiet leader. You don't see it. It's not in what he says. It's more about how he goes about his business and the respect that you can tell the players have for certain players.
And guy that comes back from last year and the previous year, Jacob Dudan. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about him this offseason about, the role potentially changing for him, looking to maybe move him to the rotation. First of all, where do things stand there, and how comfortable are you with that right now? But also, what has he brought to the team, and where do you feel like the rotation itself stands for the weekend right now?
Yeah, it's Jacob Dudan. I mean, I can talk about a lot of players, and they all have different qualities and personalities. But Jacob Dudan, since he arrived on campus 2 years ago, what he brings for the love of this program, love of his teammates, what kind of teammate he is, his work ethic, all the things that he's done for us, helped pitch us to the College World Series 2 years ago in the back end of the bullpen, and went through some difficulties last year, recovered, became dominant again. He's done so much, and now to take on a different role as a starter, it's a different mentality. Maybe you pitch a little bit differently, and but his work ethic and how devoted and disciplined he is to everything he does. I know his family took a Christmas trip to Chicago, and I was talking to him, and he flew home a day early, and I'm like, why would you fly home a day early by yourself? It was he wanted his schedule that he had set up to throw on. He needed to throw that next day, and he wanted to come home and throw. I mean, that's the guy he is. That's how devoted he is to this team and to this game. And he's a special individual is all I can say. He's very, very special.
And do you feel like that spot is his for the taking now at this point going into the season?
Absolutely. It's something we talked about this summer, and he's preparing for it. And, when the season starts, the top three starters for the weekend, obviously you have a Tuesday game or a Wednesday game, and sometimes you have both. So you're going to need 5 starters. But the first weekend, the 3 starters, if they stay healthy, and I'll knock on wood because we're a long way from February 13th, but we'll be Jacob Dudan, Ryan Marohn, Heath Andrews.
And wanted to ask you about Ryan Marohn himself too. I mean, guy that's, getting some preseason love this year, preseason All-American, I believe, by D1 Baseball. And I'm sure his name will pop up on several other lists before the season starts. What have you seen from him from a consistency standpoint? Because obviously, over the last few years, other guys have gotten, more praise for their pitching, and, there's other guys that have gotten, the love for the team. But, what has Brian Marohn brought to this team, and what are your expectations for him heading into the season?
When I think of Ryan Marohn, I think of just maturity level. He is so mature, so consistent. He came here that way as a freshman. Has he grown? We all grow every day. So, yes, he's grown in so many ways since he's been here, but he came here as a very mature individual with a great mindset, a great toughness mentality, big-time team mentality. I mean, he came here with all the qualities that you want in a player. And he's just not only grown, but everybody has seen that. The biggest thing when you have a player like Ryan Marohn is his work ethic and the way he goes about his business and handles everything. Everybody gets to see it every day in that locker room and on the field, and it helps other players come along because that's who they want to emulate. And so he just means so much to this ball club in so many ways. And he's any things he's getting that you mentioned a while ago, he's certainly deserving of.
And going back to it, you mentioned, midweek games and how important those are for the program as well, especially when it comes to developing players. We saw Cooper Consiglio in that role a lot last year and, as a midweek starter. Do you feel like he retains that spot, or is he more of a bullpen guy this year? And if so, what do you feel like, where do you feel like you'll head with it when it comes to midweek starters?
Well, everything you do as the coach is talking about going to postseason. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's all about. I mean, going into postseason, and then you try to get to Omaha, and then you have a chance to win a national championship. And that's the three mindsets that as you build your team and try to figure out how you're going to best get there and prepare for that, that's what you think about. And so you have a list of top, usually 8 pitchers get the bulk of your innings on a team. Maybe, 9 and 10 get some quality innings, but every inning is important because every game you win matters for postseason. And our non-conference schedule is challenging as well. And any of those games can help catapult you to the postseason or keep you from getting there. So every game is important, but obviously the weekend conference games, they have a great weight too, and you want to be prepared to win those. So Cooper Consiglio is going to have a lot to do with us winning in the conference on the weekend. And if he doesn't pitch too much that weekend, then obviously he would be the guy that would start that Tuesday or that Wednesday for the next game. But so we got to figure out the whole thing. You're not gonna have him set to pitch Tuesday or Wednesday, and he's not going to help us win on the weekend for conference or the first 3 weekends before you play conference. And so you'll see Cooper on the weekend as well, one of our top arms here on this team. And if he's available to start on Tuesday or Wednesday, then obviously he'd be a high target for that.
And we talked a little bit about Ty Head earlier and him being more than likely, I'm assuming, at the center field spot again this year, and then at right field, probably Braden Freisman that we talked about earlier. Where do you feel like the starting left field spot is right now, and what does that competition look like?
Well, you got the first 2 right, and they've played outstanding last year, and they had great falls. So, but left field right now, there's a lot of guys that can play it. Rhett Johnson, freshman that I mentioned a while ago, had a great fall. We had Chris McHugh out there who played very, very well. And he's a lot faster than people understand. And we put Chris out there some in the fall. And then you have Andrew Wiggins, who is a great athlete, who's capable of doing some special things for this team as well. So those are the 3 names I think of first and foremost. And, who's going to start opening day, I have no idea. But those are 3 names that come out to the top of my head.
All right. And I have to ask you, because something that has changed significantly since you took over the program has been, the lean towards analytics, the change, all those different, having people come out or having guys go out to, obviously you're adding now, different things when it comes to analytics for the program, when it comes to this new building that we were talking about earlier. But I wanted to ask you about the impact of Joshua Fisher and what he's done for this program over the last few years, kind of taking over that analytics department and being somebody that's really helped to kind of lift that aspect of things. And what do you feel like he's done for the program as a whole?
Oh gosh, it's I'm glad you brought that up, Corey. Josh has been unbelievable. I mean, it's one of that hire has been phenomenal. It's matter of fact, Clint Chrysler, our pitching coach, he and Josh work together so well. Clint's always, I've heard him say it like 10 times, it's told Josh he's not allowed to leave here. And because he's had a couple pro guys, because analytics is so big of professional baseball now. And a couple pro teams have reached out to Josh, and Clint just tells him he's not allowed to leave. And but what Josh Fisher has meant to our program, not only is the analytics and his brain and just the way he thinks and the information that the data that he can give to all of us, but it's how he can explain the data and put it to our best use. Because the eye test is still the best thing in baseball, but data matters, and he has a great way of not only getting that information, but delivering it in a way that everybody on the staff can understand it and can help the players as well, because they can't get too analytically driven, because you got to learn how to compete and understand competing is still the greatest asset that you have as a ball player. And but if you can make all those things work for you. So Josh has been incredible for us. Great hires. We've had many great hires. Mike McCautry's brought a lot to us in the strength and development department. And it's Scott Insel, what he does for the development of training, and Olivia, what she's added, that concept in the fall and preseason. It's just so many people do such a great job here. But Josh Fisher, yes, great hire, unbelievable. And he's added a lot to our program.
All right. And my last thing for you, just because we talked about it earlier, entering your 30th year, if you could, I know this is kind of like a cliche question, but I have to ask it. I mean, if you could go back to, Elliott Avent leaving New Mexico State, coming over to NC State, what would you tell yourself then about how to approach things maybe differently, or, ways that you would have kind of adapted a little bit earlier to the game as well?
I don't think I would do anything different. I mean, I've been so fortunate to be around so many people that have had an influence on my life. If you talk about the biggest influence of my life, obviously, is your mom and dad, and the code of ethics they gave you, and the code of morality, and how to treat people, and how to give back to the community and give back to people around you, and those kind of things. So I learned that at an early age in the community and in the home I grew up in. But then if you talk about my baseball career, the people I've had the access to, and there are too many names to mention, but for a few, I mean, Tony Guzzo, who gave me my first job, and the things that he instilled in me and taught me at a young age, when maybe I was stubborn and thought I knew everything, and he had to beat some things into me sometimes. And so Tony Guzzo to Coach Russ Frazier, the legend at Lewisburg Junior College, and all the things that I learned under him. And then when I got here, Ray Tanner, and I mentioned Coach Esposito, who all of us learned from Coach Esposito, and we all learned from each other. Bob Guzzo, the legendary wrestling coach here, George Tarantini, and then obviously there's Jimmy V, who I had the pleasure and the chance to be around him and quite closely for a year or so, and K.L. Our office is right down the hall, and the things that K.L. shared with me and taught me, I use today. And so when you and Ray Tanner, who gave me my first job as an assistant here, and obviously I came back here when he went to South Carolina, and Ray learned under Coach Esposito and all these people that I mentioned, and it's just so many valuable people, and I didn't even, there was administrators too, Frank Whedon or Charlie Bryant, the head of the Wolfpack Club, Bobby Purcell. We learned from all these people, and And so to be in this NC State community for 30 years, and the people that I had the luxury and the opportunity to learn from, and then, like I said, I mentioned the people on the way to get here in my 7 years as an assistant, and the things I learned out west, being a head coach for the first time in New Mexico State, and the people there was people out there that I learned from. Jim Paul, who owned the El Paso Diablos and AA team out in El Paso, and the things I learned from him, and Ken Schramm and all those people. The conference I was in, the Big West Conference, and learning from Dave Snow and Augie Garrido and all the people I had the luxury to be around, Jim Wing at Arizona, and the great Jerry Kendall, the legends of those people out there. I've just been fortunate to be around so many great people. And like I said, Hal Baird, probably Tony Guzzo beat some things in me and taught me how to listen. And then when I got a chance to be around people like Hal Baird, who I was fortunate to spend time again when we went to Auburn last spring for the regionals at Auburn. And there's just so many people. And then obviously the staff, like the people that have been a part of this staff since I got here, from Billy Best to Matt Donahue to all the people that I've been fortunate, Scott Foxall, all the people, and now Chris Hart and Clint Chrysler, and Bo Robinson and JT Jarrett. It's just such a thrill to have him on the coaching staff, having the opportunity to coach him for 5 years. It's just, I can't say enough. Gabe Button, our strength coach for 16, 17 years, Jody Cahoon, our equipment manager for 16 or 17 years, the academic coordinators who give so much to the players on the other side of what we do, which is academically, which is obviously a challenge for the players, and how to balance academics and athletics. So all those people that have helped this process have been so valuable, and I've appreciated everybody, and it's why we're at where we're at today.
Yes, sir. Well, Elliott, I can't tell you again how much I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. And
same to you.
Yes, sir. I got to ask you one more time. Show off the mug really quickly.
The mug?
Yes.
Oh, this is the guy. Hey, this is the guy I think should have ran for president of the Duke, John Wayne.
Yeah.
But anyway, he had a code of ethics, and that I think probably my parents probably beat into me at a young age when I needed a lot of things beat into me. And so anyway, but his movies are probably still my favorite. But anyway, Cory, I enjoyed this. Always enjoy talking to you. You're such a good person. You do so many good things to bring sports to everybody's lives here in the Triangle, and we appreciate you here at NC State.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much, Elliott. I appreciate your time, and thank you to everybody for listening. We will talk to you guys again soon.